Welcome to the T-Pac Arcade. Today's game is Starship for the Atari 2600. In this 1977 space action game from Atari, you're in space, doing space stuff, because that's what spaceships do. Or, starships do. This is actually a collection of several different space games. The standard Starship modes feature a first-person view from your craft, and the goal is to blast as many extraterrestrial objects as possible, in 2 minutes and 16 seconds. An incredibly specific time limit that seems entirely arbitrary to me, but maybe it has something to do with calculating light years or whatever. I'm no astrophysicist, I just came here to shoot lasers at stuff. And said stuff includes single-point starfighters, aka yellow zigzags, 2-point blue UFOs, which are particularly difficult to hit because they're so narrow, if only we could exchange flying saucers for flying salad bowls, and 3-point space robots. I can't explain why, but I love these pink 8-bit alien bots more than life itself. While you're blasting away, you've also got to make sure you don't run into anything and lose a point. Especially asteroids, because those can't be destroyed. They just approach you menacingly, as orange speckled clumps from the distance. Actually, approach might not be the best word to use here. Since the Atari can't handle smooth sprite scaling, all the space objects just jump closer to you at defined intervals to simulate growing in perspective until all of a sudden they're taking up a quarter of the screen and everything flashes with a deafening because you just got kerthwacked by a satellite that looked like it was far away just half a second ago. Basically, you have to develop a good gut feeling on how quickly stuff is coming at you, especially in game variations 3 and 4, where everything moves twice as fast. The laser guidance is pretty forgiving though, but just as visually deceptive. Even if it looks like your shot came up short, as long as you line up your crosshairs on something while the blaster is still active, you'll get those sweet bonus points anyway. The warp drive game variations are just like the Starship ones, except you only encounter asteroids, and the goal is to cover as much distance as possible in the time limit. Instead of shooting your blaster, the action button here is a speed boost, so hold it down as long as you've got a clear path ahead, then let up to steer away whenever those orange speckles start to move in like that extended family member who really likes hugs. Steering isn't too easy though, since Starship uses flight controls. And by that I mean, left is left and right is right, but up is down and down is up. My brain would have been able to operate just fine if everything was in reverse, but not when only 2 of the 4 directions are backwards. Let's just say I received a lot of unsolicited asteroid hugs, just because I tried to move left with right. But that's not the only thing that's backwards here, and this is a very important note for anyone who tries to play this game. You have to use the Player 2 joystick. I don't know why Atari did this, but I thought I had a bum cartridge until I learned that the Player 1 controller isn't supposed to do anything. Anyway, the final game variations are a completely different timed lunar lander simulation, where you just move your spacecraft to a series of moons, then press the action button to deploy your landing jets and score a point. Also make sure not to run into meteors, or even land while you're in a meteor's trajectory, because you stall while docking with the moon, and you might get kerthwacked before you can skedaddle away. Oh, there are a few 2-player game variations here too. An alternating shootout where the spaceship player tries to blast the space module player, which seems like an endless game of tag you're it, and an alternating lunar lander variation where one player controls the moon. And this also seems like an endless game of tag you're it. But I didn't really try these, because as you might imagine, a guy who spends his weekends playing 40-year-old video games doesn't do a whole lot of, hanging out with friends. I'm really into the minimalist 8-bit space visuals here, and even though I complained about the janky scaling for UFOs and asteroids and stuff, the starfield actually manages to move nice and smooth and give you a good sense of flying through the cosmos. And the sound design is perfect for a sci-fi interstellar starfighter mission, with its rocket hum and random radar beeps. I especially love hearing your jets rev up and down in the warp drive games, and that drawn-out, echoey scoring noise whenever you blast something or complete a moon landing. The difficulty of this game varies, depending on which mode you play, but no matter what, there's a lot of luck involved in getting a good score. Where objects appear, and what objects appear, seems to be random, so getting a lot of asteroid spawns in the Starship games means less scoring opportunities, and moons appearing at opposite ends of the screen in lunar lander games means losing time from your precious, but still completely arbitrary, 2-minute 16-second limit. I also read in the manual that setting the Atari's difficulty switches to A requires you to line things up more precisely in the shooting and landing games, but I'm pretty sure I played in mode B, since the aim seemed pretty forgiving to me. In any case, my goal for each game was to score somewhere in the upper limits of what seemed reasonable with a fair bit of skill, combined with a fair bit of luck. For the standard Starship and Warp Drive games, that was 40 points for variations where asteroids and UFOs approach 1 at a time, and 50 points for variations where they approach 2 at a time. For the Lunar Lander games, I went for 20 points across the board. Fast meteor mode, slow meteor mode, and no meteor mode, where the only threat to you and your moon is the relentless march of time and the endless void of space. Bleak, maybe, but kinda peaceful too, in a weird way. My favorite part of Starship was playing the default variation, because things move slow enough that you can actually blast every object that appears instead of needing to compromise on what to dodge and what to shoot. But if I could change one thing across all the variations, I'd make the point values multiples of 100. Really get that arbitrary dopamine rush flowing. 2 points per UFO? That's fine. But 200 points per UFO? Now we're talking. Overall, Starship feels less like a video game and more like a chill 8-bit sci-fi experience, I guess. And as someone who appreciates aesthetic entertainment over challenge and high scores and mechanics and stuff, I'm all for it. Even if that means learning that up is down and down is up, and dodging an unsolicited asteroid hug here and there among the ambient bleeps and bloops of the cosmos.